Hello, welcome. So today we're going to be looking at r/, Am I the Butthole? And some of the people today are wholly irritating. So if that sounds like something you'd be interested in listening to today with me, then please do stick around and enjoy. And don't forget to like and subscribe, please. Thank you. First post, am I the butthole for leaving when I was asked to babysit, forcing my dad's fiancée to cancel her plans? I am 17, lived with my mum until a year ago when her disability got to the point where she was placed in a care home that's like a hospice. My dad wasn't ever a big presence in my life, and he's still not. I live there, but I need to be self-sufficient, and I pay for my own crap or have help from my maternal grandparents to pay for it. It's all kinds of messed up, but he has always been that way. I will never understand parents that make, their children pay for all their own things. I mean, when they're adults and if they still live with you, fair enough. When they should be having a job and things, okay. But under 18, absolutely not. When they're still figuring themselves out even over 18, I'd still want to help out as much as I could. But, for certain things, I'd be like, yeah, if you want to go out drinking with your mates, you've got to make your own money. But I'll make your food. I'll sort your food for you. His reason for having me here is no child support because he had to pay for 16 years before that. My grandparents even promised they wouldn't ask for child support, but he was like, no. And he was smug about him being my dad and he'd win over them anyway. Oh, it's so good that you are nearly 18 because then you can skedaddle. My dad's engaged to some woman who has a 3-year-old with someone else and a 6-month-old with my dad. I moved in around the same time her and her kid did, and she was pregnant then. I don't know much about her, and I don't spend time around her or the kids. Last Saturday, I had a day off work, and I wasn't planning on doing anything when Dad and her said I needed to babysit the kids because they had stuff on. Yeah, I'd tell them to go swing and all. Dad left first, and she told me that she'd be gone for about 6 hours and was trying to tell me schedule stuff for the 6-month-old and the 3-year-old, but I just said no way, and I left the house. I didn't have anything planned, but I was not willing to babysit, and I dipped before she could leave. I love that. She tried yelling after me, but I kept going, and I didn't go back to the house until it was late. Dad was back by then, and the two of them started yelling at me, saying that I had no right to walk out and leave the kids without a sitter. I pointed out that their mum was home, and they said it wasn't the point, but I said that it was the point, and I did not want to babysit, and I did not have to babysit. I told them I won't ever babysit, so they better find someone for them when they need it, because it won't be me, and I will leave every single time. Good on you, absolutely. Like your dad, realistically, he only is having you there so he doesn't have to pay child support, and probably for a little bit of a one-up on the grandparents for some odd reason. He sounds like a absolute shite dad, to be honest. She was trying to guilt trip me about cancelling her plans, and I asked her why it was my problem, that she didn't prepare a babysitter for her kids before her plans. She even got her sister, who I don't think I met before, to come over and tell me that I was a crappy person, and I took my daddy issues out on her sister and her nibblings. I hate the word nibblings. I don't know why. I find it reminds me of those stuck-up families, the ones that think they're perfect. Now, I know it's just a word, and, many people probably use it. But when it just seems to be the only time you've heard it is from those types? That is the only time I've heard it. So now I can't stand that word. I rolled my eyes, pat my crap, and I left after that. I'm hoping he doesn't try taking this custody to court, and if he does, I hope he gets a date after I turn 18, and it's a waste of time. Honestly, I think a court would probably say, sorry, but this guy is so close to 18, that we're just not going to bother here. Why have you brought us here? What's the point? Am I the butthole? Asking because I know she didn't do crap to me, and she might have appreciated it or something, I don't know. I mean, no, not at all. Your dad's treating you like shite and has only done it so that he's basically got someone there to look after the kids and pay towards the household. And yeah, why should you help him and his missus out? He didn't even need to take you in. You had a place with your grandparents, so he can't even be like, I put a roof in your head when you had nowhere else to go. Well, no, you had somewhere to go that you would have probably been far happier in. And he ruined that for you to be, what, spiteful against your maternal grandparents? Yeah, like, no, he sounds terrible. So, down in the comments, Shadow for Summer says, not the butthole, why is your dad wanting you at home instead of your grandparents? They wanted a built-in babysitter. They are takers and users. Since you're out already, never go back, never give in. Sorry you're going through this. And then Raptor 007, not the butthole. If your maternal grandparents are close enough to you, make sure you keep anything you truly want there for safekeeping. He will escalate, and if he does, have your grandparents go to court and explain why you want to live with them. He doesn't want his son, he wants staff to watch his kids. I would have walked out too. Honestly, I don't think the OP really needs to worry, because the dad is not going to spend all that money going to court when he knows that literally it'd be for a matter of months. And then OP can literally be like, right, I'm 18 now, see you later. Next post, am I the butthole for being honest with CPS when they were called on my parents? Oh no. So we're going to give a big old warning here for what I am assuming is child abuse. I, 16M, have a brother, 13M, and 2 sisters, 12F and 9F. Our parents are the kind of people who will help everybody who's anybody to the extreme. Usually, I'm the one who has to give up the most for that. Like, they will let people stay with us when they are between homes, or their house is getting work done, or someone's visiting, and I always have to give up my room to guests. If there's more than the guest room can fit, my siblings keep theirs, and usually I will be sent to the living room. I went to my brother's room when we were younger, but not anymore, and there's no room for a bed in there anyway. I always find it wholly worrying when parents just let anyone and everyone stay in the house that they have young children in. Like, what are you doing? Family, yes. Really close friends you've known for years, yes. Randomers that you just happen to know because they live down the street or whatever? No, absolutely not. I mean, for God's sake, even families sometimes have a real wrong and no one knows about it. So people you barely know from Adam? Like, no. So wrong. Sometimes we could have like 10 extra people staying with us for weeks at a time, especially if it's summer or Christmas. Money gets tight because guests never have to contribute, and space is super tight because we're all on top of each other. My parents say that being the oldest and having my own room are the reasons that I need to give up my room when my brother and sisters don't. Occasionally, a cousin or two with the same age as my brother will share his room with him, but they share a bed and it's really tight squeeze. Nah, sorry, I'm not kicking my kid out of their own bed for anyone. I don't care. Not a chance. Like, now and then, if my parents come to stay, my eldest will choose to stay in my room with me, which is fine. I wouldn't make them though. I would go and stay downstairs, you know? I wouldn't mind, but they quite like being in my room and any excuse, you know? But anyone else could go and swing for it. No chance. My kids' comfort in their own home is paramount. I don't care. It's not happening. When we started having people stay over more and more, I just got my sleeping bag and moved into the basement with a few things. The 3 nights since 2025 started, when I could have slept in my own bed, I didn't even bother. And yeah, that's how bad it is. My dad's brother, his wife, and their 3 kids are living with us now, essentially. Dad's parents decided to come and stay for the summer too. Then, one of Mum's friends started staying with us 6 weeks ago with her family. But then my dad's ex-stepdaughter, I'm trying my best to follow along here, he was married before Mum and had no kids but still talks to his ex's daughter, and her family needed a place to crash, so they stayed. That meant my room, the guest room, and the living room were full, and the basement was, so I went to crash at a friend's house. When I was there, I told his parents, and his parents reported it to CPS and reported that I had not had my own bed in months and how I would get there starving because, as the hosting family, we get to eat last at home. This is so messed up, isn't it? Like, it's a bit different having a few friends over for like a day or two, having having the nan and granddad over for a few days. Like, this is weird, actually. This is actually really weird. They're basically treating their house like a hotel and allowing their kids to suffer for it. That's so odd. Hello, what's the matter? Can I help you? Missy? That's one of the Nakies pestering because she wants me to go to bed. She has to be tucked into bed at night next to me, otherwise she won't sleep. CPS interviewed me and I was honest about everything. I told them why I went into the basement full time, about us eating last, and everything that was going on. CPS warned my parents that they needed to have better accommodations for the four of us. I think they have to work with CPS for a few months now on stuff, take some classes, and we need less people at the house. My parents wanted to know why they knew certain things, and I told my parents I was honest with them. It peed them off bad, and I told them they effed me over all the time, so why should I care about the trouble they're in? Does this make me the butthole? I'm spending most nights at my friend's house still, by the way. No, absolutely not. Your parents have proven that they cannot provide a stable, safe household with enough food, a stable routine, an appropriate place to sleep, and they're mad at you? Like, I'm sorry. I hate to break it to them, but if they had been providing everything you needed in the first place, CPS wouldn't be up their butt now, would they? Honestly, these parents sound like they do everything to please themselves and don't care about their kids. It's like they get a kick, maybe, out of being the people that everyone's like, oh, they're so great, they let us stay with them, or I don't know, some weird kind of kick out of it. And they just think, well, forget the kids. We don't care about the kids as long as we look saintly and like the ones that help everyone. Weird behavior. So, down in the comments, Talk to Me 0701 says, not the butthole. You may have done your siblings a great service. Your parents' first responsibility was to you and to them. Do they think that they get some extra points in heaven because they neglected their children and helped other people? They won't. The only people actually entrusted with them were their children. They have failed. You kids are not the hosts, your parents are. Yes, they could have eaten last, but they should also have let their children eat first. Exactly. If they want to eat last, then they should go ahead, but absolutely not. And you know what? With them mentioning this whole heaven thing, I wonder if this is a religion thing, because I swear I've seen a story about something very similar before, and the parents were like religious, and they were like, no, you have to do it because, like, you're a bad person if you don't let people stay with you in their time of need. I do wonder if maybe that is playing a part here. Edit to add, you say your parents have the master bedroom with their own bathroom, which no one is allowed to use. How does that square with them telling you that your host and your guests come first? They are hypocrites. And then Mama Frijoles says, also, notice how the parents never gave up their room when they kept adding people. They just kept adding the strain to their kids. They never once even offered to swap rooms with their kids. Not an actual solution, but at minimum, they should have swapped and gave the kids their bigger room to fit more beds, rather than force OP to the basement. They are actively neglecting their kids for the sake of looking good. It's really weird. I'm glad that they got grassed up. Honestly. So, am I the butthole for refusing to clean up my fiance's vomit without his help? Okay, also, trigger warning for emetophobia, okay? So, you don't have to listen to this if that's going to make you feel a bit icky. This will probably be, like, the last one, maybe. So, feel free to dip out now if you can't cope with talks of that. Last night, my fiancé vomited in his bathroom. I don't know if it was from drinking, the heat, or a stomach bug, but he missed the toilet. Ew. He texted me while I was getting our little one ready for bed saying that he'd vomited and needed help. About 2 hours later, after feeding the dogs and trying to get our 10-month-old to sleep, I went to our bedroom. He immediately told me he vomited and needed me to clean it up. Is he for real? I would have been like, no, get in this bathroom now. I said I'd help disinfect after he cleaned the chunky part. Oh, God. But it would have to wait until the morning because I needed to go back to the baby who was already screaming again. He didn't respond and I left. How old is he? Because he's acting like he's the baby right now. Like, go and clean up your sick. You're a fully grown man. Clean it up yourself. This morning, while making his coffee, he asked again if I could clean his bathroom. I asked if he'd done what I requested, and he said no, and that he wasn't going to. Well, I suppose it's staying there for a good while then, innit? I explained I can't handle the chunky part without gagging, and we went in circles. This is the easiest divorce him I think I'll ever say. I could not be with someone this incompetent. He cannot clean up his own sick. Is he for real? Him telling me to just do it, me saying he needed to help, until he finally says, you need to figure it out, end of discussion. Before going outside with his coffee. He'd be wearing that coffee. The cheeky little turd. I genuinely cannot believe that someone would act like this. Like, is he insane? Is he actually on this planet? Is he from this planet? What is wrong with him? That would be such a turn off to me. I would never be able to look at him in any way that makes him attractive ever again. This morning, while making his coffee, he asked again if I could clean his bathroom, so it's been there for 2 days. I asked if he'd done what I requested. 20 minutes later, he came back in, led with, I love you, and asked again. When I still said no, he told me I had to do it and went to his office to work. For context, I've cleaned up his bodily fluids before in the earlier years of our relationship, at least a handful of times, but since being pregnant and having our baby, I've been firm that he cleans up after himself. I am concerned that this is happening so often that would have to be a boundary that would have to be put in place. Does this man have a drinking problem? Genuinely, I am wondering, because you mentioned it could have been alcohol, like, it's weird that you would think that, which makes me think that that's a common occurrence. And why is he getting so blasted at home that he's throwing up on the floor? That's weird. I'm also a stay-at-home mum and take care of our child 24/7, even when he's off work. Does cleaning your partner's vomit really fall into those duties? No. Also, I peeked to see if I was being unreasonable and could just do it. No, nope, nope. The sink had Okay, even if you don't have emetophobia, I'm going to give you a content warning for this next bit for utterly disgusting. The sink had hardened, chunky brown vomit. The toilet was covered in the same, but thicker. I didn't even check the wall or floor because I was already gagging. Oh my goodness. Am I the butthole for refusing to clean it up? Update, he did not have a stomach bug. He was drunk. Well, there you go then. And I just didn't notice. Remember, I have a baby and my focus is on her. Vomit has been cleaned up by him after yet another conversation where I made it clear I wasn't going to do it and how messed up it was that he'd left it for me. This time, he didn't argue. He just cleaned it up. Thanks to everyone who commented, even the harsher ones. I know it seemed pretty obvious that it was messed up, but certain dynamics can make you question even the clearest of situations. Yeah, no, it's so weird that he would try and demand that you do that. Either he's a massive misogynist who just thinks that's woman's work, he's a big prick who doesn't want to do it because he's a big prick, or he's all of the above. There is only a few times I would say it's acceptable for someone to be like, can you clean up my throw up? And one of them is if it's your child. Okay, that's acceptable. The other one is if it's your cat, which I actually had to do earlier because my cat threw up. By the way, I have hard floor all downstairs. Do you know where they threw up? The rug. Little prick. Good job, I love them. And then the other option for when it is okay, I suppose, is if obviously there is illness involved and they can't physically move themselves to go and do it, that, you know, then of course I would do it for them. Very begrudgingly, but I would do it. I would feel so gross, but I would do it. But yeah, no, not just because they don't want to. And especially if they did it because they were drinking so heavily at home that they threw up everywhere. That's concerning. Okay, so down in the comments, the world is on fire 8377, isn't it just? What the F, tell your loser husband, corrected fiance, to clean up his own damn puke, obviously not the butthole. And then unimaginative name 9 says also, why the F could he not make it into the toilet and demanding she clean it like she's the maid? This is grounds for leaving. No, just no. And then Difficult Age 133 says, because to him, she is the maid. Yeah, bang on the money, I think there. This man does not see her as his equal partner. He's the breadwinner, she's the baby maker. He's got her right where he wants her, and things will only get worse if she gives in to his demand and if she stays. And then Twilight Moonshadow says, no decent person would have ever even made a maid do this. Gross. And I'm really annoyed that no one's pointing out the fact that this dude was drinking so heavily that he's vomiting everywhere at home. And apparently it was a possibility from the start. So clearly he's done that before. And this was before the OP knew that he'd been drinking at home. And one of their first thoughts was it was alcohol. Like, that's concerning. On that very disgusting note, I am going to go and wash my eyeballs out for what I have just read. And yeah, if you made it all the way to the end with me, sorry. I do apologise. If you give a little like, subscribe, notifications on, not sure why you'd want to after I've just assaulted your ears with that, but still, feel free, and that is your initiation into the cult of void. I promise it's not that gross all the time here. Kind of. Whatever it is you're doing for the day, I hope you have a really good rest of the day. Goodbye!